Retro Hangover is supported via Patreon by listeners like you. We would especially like to thank patrons Lyle McCarnes, Tony G, Tom the Superhero, Stud Still Smash the Milkman, Lucas from Game Over Hell, Mast Keaton, Ozzy Garcia, JC, Megan Caruso, Dave Jackson, Jenny E, Retro Overdrive, Soha, The Emperor, Storm Beagle, Matt aka Stormageddon, Van Fertile, and B. Ross from Super Garbage Day, Jared Brayland, Randall Quiggle, Raging Demon, Keith Gasper, The Retro Vixen, Eric Guess, Nomad from the Retro Wildlands Podcast, Ash Event, Alan Bingham, Mike the Ref from Backbreaker Gaming, Alt, Gary Heather, Low5 Alex, Oh Me, Makeshift Money, Sega Boy 7, Riskel, and Adam R. Your continued engagement and generous donations are deeply appreciated.
Open your ears and crack some beers. You are listening to the most recent episode of Retro Hangover.
And hello, retro and classic gamers. Welcome to the podcast where we crash cash-in castrations, courting culpable courtesans with cankles and castles. This is Retro Hangover. I am your co-host, Chris Copleen, with special guest, Matt, aka Stormageddon, from the Fun and Games and Reignite podcasts. And, as always, your host, Shane. Diabolical Dick Diarrhea Dragon Salter.
There were many things in your alliterative intro that I did not like. I just want to point that out.
Is that so?
It is so, yes.
Elaborate.
I'm a fan of neither castrations nor cankles, as it turns out.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with Shane on this one.
You just haven't lived.
That's true. That's true. You have not lived until you've, appreciated the, I don't even know how to make that funny. Like,
You know what, Shane?
I was really trying to find something there. Just, nope.
No,
Sometimes the castrations are how I make my cankles. Think about it.
I don't even want to know how that works. Although in an oddly somewhat related fashion, I came across a video today of some British woman talking about how she, unbeknownst to her, lived like right across the street from some dude who ran a website called Eunuch Maker, where like over 100 dudes went to his house to get their dick chopped off by this man. So that's kind of related.
You know what? I don't want to go there. Matt, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. I'm pulling the ripcord on this bit. I'm parachuting out. I'll be back. I'll be back after we're done talking about castration. I am so happy to be back. I love the show, as you guys know, and I harass you constantly about when I can come back, and I am finally here. I picked a good one, I think, but I'm excited to be back. It's always a pleasure to hang with y'all,
and we're excited to have you back. It's always great when you're on the show, whether it's on the main show or King of Games or whenever. It's always a delight. You have great takes, and always a pleasure. And always a pleasure listening to the Fun and Games podcast as well.
Thank you.
You and Jeff are fantastic.
I do my part. Jeff's the talent. I just show up.
All right. Let's get right into the mix of things. Let's not bury, well, we are going to bury the lead because we have other things we'd like to talk about before the game. But that game is Castle Crashers for like everything. It's on everything nowadays.
But before we get into that, we like talking about the games that we have been playing lately. And as tradition goes, as we are wont to do, we let our guest go first and talk about the delicious gaming delicacies that they are digesting, unless they're terrible. But we'll find out soon. Matt, what have you been playing lately?
In true spirit and fashion of me as a human on the internet, I am playing too many things at once. I just don't know how to say no. But a couple of the top level stuff I've been playing, I of course am going bananas for DK Bonanza. I picked that up on the Switch too, and I'm having a blast with it. It definitely feels like it's by the Mario Odyssey team. Like, it's expansive and fun. It's a toy. Like, it's funny. I've heard people talk online that there's not a lot of depth to it, and I get it. Like, I love deep RPGs, heavy narratives, just like anybody else. But also, sometimes I just want to play with a toy. And that's basically what this game is. You can smash your way through everything, basically. It's colorful, it's funny, it's cute. It really is, like, it's the system seller for the Switch 2. I'm glad that I got mine before it and got Mario Kart and got a few other things. But, like, this is the game I was waiting for, and it hasn't disappointed. And I think what I like about it the most is I don't feel a pressure to finish it. I'm sure this is something you can both relate to, but when I'm working my way through an RPG, say for a review or a podcast, there's this weight of like, I got to finish the thing, or I've got to get deep enough into this thing to talk about it intelligently. But with Donkey Kong, I'm not playing it for a review on the podcast. I'm not playing it to go on someone else's show. It's just a game that I go to, I play for a while, and then I dip out to play other things, and then I can go right back to it. And it's been great.
It's a game you're playing for you.
Yeah.
And those are always, that's when you have that opportunity, especially in the arena of content creation, for lack of a better term. It's always the best thing you can get.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what that's like anymore.
I mean, it's legit. Well, it's funny because I also very recently played Strider 2 for the first time for your very own Retro Hangover review crew. It's funny. We got that one, like the whole big deal about it for the month of July was like, let's take the summer off. Here's a game that's only an hour long. It was so delightful to play a game for an hour and go, oh, this is fun. Oh, I'm done. Great. Like, because I cannot remember the last time I've had that experience with a game.
Yeah.
Unless it was also emotionally wrecking me. Like the other game that I played that you've seen me post about is a game called And Roger, lowercase and Roger. It's about an hour long. It's a narrative game with mini game mechanics to navigate the narrative. And like, it's one of those games like Slay the Princess and Before Your Eyes and Outer Wilds, and in the sense that the less you know, the more impact the game has. And it destroyed me. It was a very well done emotional story, and I could go deeper, but I really want folks to play it. It's like $10, maybe less. I really recommend it. I got a review code for it. I'm going to write something up about it. I don't know that I want to use my typical like strength and weaknesses and the takeaway kind of structure I do. I just feel like it oversimplifies this kind of more complex narrative game. But I mean, I like a good cry on an emotional story. And it was one of those. And so I do definitely recommend it. And it's on PC and Switch. It's again, really cheap. It's by like, I think a solo dev or a small team. And so I've been playing that as well. And I'm trying to think what else was I feel like you ever get to a point where like, you're just kind of like so steeped in whatever you've been playing that you kind of can't. Oh, I played the game that we're talking about today, the game du jour, as it were, which was fun to revisit. I tell you how long I spent playing it, but I played the remastered version on the Switch, and they hold your playtime hostage for 2 weeks, which kills me every time. Like the Switch will not tell you. It tells you how many days ago you played it for the first 14 days. And then after day 14, it's like, you've played it for this many hours. And it's like, why? Why, Nintendo? Why?
The Wii used to do that.
Yeah.
It used to tell you immediately.
Yeah.
I know, because it's telling me how long I've played Metroid Other M for.
Ugh.
I'm like, it felt like a lot longer than that.
And then the other game I'd been playing is I just recently, I'm not touching Other M with a 10-foot pole. I won't do it.
I know.
But speaking of Metroid, I decided 2 months ago to replay the entire 2D Metroid timeline. So what I mean by that is I'm not playing 1 or 2, the original versions, because fuck those games. They're just too hard. I'm playing Zero Mission, the Samus Returns on the 3DS, and then Super Metroid Fusion and Dread. And I haven't replayed Dread since I first got it. And so I just finished Super Metroid as of when we're recording. I may or may not be appearing on someone else's podcast about it soon. man, as much as I love that game, it has not aged gracefully if you start off with two of the best remakes of Metroid games ever made. Because despite the problems with the counter system in Samus Returns, it's smooth as butter as far as how well it moves. And Zero Mission is, I mean, we talked about it on this podcast. It's as close to a perfect Metroid game as you can probably get, I think.
Absolutely.
As far as at least streamlining and mechanics. And so, like, I finished Super Metroid. I got through it. I had to use rewind. There were some boss battles I just didn't want to do over again, but I got through that and then booted up Metroid Fusion, my favorite, and immediately went, yes, this is exactly what I want. But I put it down because I do want to get through some of the newer stuff like DK first before moving on to Fusion and Dread. But I don't know if either of you guys have a series that, like, whenever you return to it, you just get lost in it like you're a 10-year-old kid again, because that's me for Metroid. Like, I really thought I would have to get myself to play these games again to, like, slog through them. But I just, like, I pick them up and I don't want to put them down. It doesn't matter what new game I wanted to play or what other games I've got in my backlog. Like, I just got sucked into them again. And it's why I think still to this day, it's one of my favorite franchises.
That's me and Mega Man.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
They're short, relatively. I mean, people say they're difficult, but I mean, if you grew up on them, they're not that bad because you understand the way they're supposed to be played. And yeah, it's one of those things. I do have a quick question about And Roger. The way that you're describing it, it sounds very similar to Florence. Did you get any vibes from that?
So I've never played Florence, a great crime of mine. I've been meaning to, and it's on my backlog, and I will at some point because I've heard great things about Florence. But my friends who have played Florence, say it's basically the same kind of game. It's mini games to move the story along that play into the narrative, and it's vignettes of storytelling about. It starts, you play as this little girl, you wake up, you're groggy, and there's a man in your house, and you think is your father, and then realize quickly it's not. It's some guy, and you don't know who he is. And he's trying to help you get ready for school. You brush your teeth, but things seem a little off. And then it goes from there. I don't want to, like, that's what's in the first 10-minute demo. There is a demo on Steam that's about 10 minutes long. But yeah, from what I've been told, because again, I haven't played it yet, it's basically like a Florence, like, in the sense that it's vignettes of storytelling with game mechanics to help tell the story.
Okay. Color me interested, because I kind of liked Florence, but the way you're making this sound, it's a lot more emotional. I like the very emotional games. It's got to hit me though.
Yeah.
Especially when it's that short. Like, hit me hard. I want to get punched in the gut really, really, really hard.
This might be one of those. And then if you haven't played, I would recommend Before Your Eyes as well, which is another game. It's about an hour and a half long. It requires a webcam because you progress time by blinking. Also a banger game. And I think like $3 on Steam right now. One of my friends told me he'd never played it, and I bought it for him sight unseen and just sent it to him as a gift on Steam because it was $3. I was like, now you can play it. Now you have no excuses. So yeah.
Gotta look into that. I've heard you talk about that before. So I mean, that does have me intrigued.
Yeah, you know me. I never shut up about video games. But yeah, those are the big things I've been playing right now. I've been dabbling on random stuff on my Switch. I dove back into Slay the Spire, which I started on Game Pass years ago and never finished. And remembered I had it on Switch. And a friend of mine, Jenna Garcia, who's over on Remap Radio, was talking about how she was playing it for the first time and really liking it. And I was like, oh, I should go back to that. And then lost myself to like 4 runs in a row because that's how those games go. And but yeah, that's kind of the gist of what I've been playing these days. I've been a little more ADD oriented when it comes to playing video games. I'm not really focusing on one thing.
I firmly believe that that's the best way to play games. As long as you're enjoying yourself. If it's frustrating, then focus. But not best way to play games. I'll go next because for segue purposes, I think it's better if I go next, Shane.
Just I suppose that makes sense, yes.
Yeah, let's make sense out of this for once. What have I been playing? I played Strider 2.
Yes.
I did not like Strider 2. I think it's because of the way I played it. I also played it for the review crew. I did appreciate how short it was, but man, it's weird. Like it I think when you play games where you can hook onto a wall, like you gotta it's stilted. It becomes a little too stilted. And I think that's what got to me. And then like there'd be times when you would just kind of float all over the place. So it was either too floaty or too precise. I mean, it had good action, but like the way that it broke up the game too, like it just had like 5 or 6 segments per level that were 30 seconds long. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. There's my review of Strider 2 for the PlayStation. I did not enjoy it. I'm happy if you did. It was not something I liked. But aside from Strider 2, I've been mostly focusing on, of course, content for the show. I think I did play. I can't even remember if I played something. My mind is so frazzled nowadays. I can't even remember if I went to sleep. I mean, obviously I did, or else I'd be not aware of anything, I think. But I think that's been the biggest thing. I've been working on the game for next week. Of course, I've been playing some Castle Crashers. I played it with all of you.
You did.
On the Sunday stream, and I had a great time. But my gameplay time has been rather limited as I still try to get used to time management in real life, and I think it's gonna get better. I'm very confident because a couple of these games are shorter, and I'm starting to get into the groove of things. So I would say, that I'm pretty boring. I'm very, very boring this week. Like Shane. Speaking of, what have you been playing?
Wow, you just assumed that, did you?
Well, surprise me. Prove me wrong.
Well, maybe now I don't want to.
God, the two of you are such an old married couple. It's ridiculous. Well, now I'm not gonna. You're gonna be like that.
I mean, so I played Castle Crashers. I also started. I fired up Legend of Grimrock 2 for not personal reasons. So there you go. Might be doing a guest spot sometime in the near future about that game. So preview there.
Woohoo!
Other than that, speaking of other, I should probably start. Well, I need to get a fucking copy of Other M first, and then I should probably play it because we're gonna talk about that game, for better or worse. And let's see, I'm on a quest to find decent first-person dungeon crawlers on Android. That is my current personal quest. There are a few, but not many. There's one that I just downloaded a couple days ago that so far is pretty good. It's called Duskfall. That one's not too bad. I've been enjoying what I've played of that one so far. There's a couple other ones, but like I said, I'm actually surprised, and I said this before, like a month or two ago now, I think, but I am surprised that there are so few. I think there was, whenever I said that, there was some feedback in the Discord, people just being like, yeah, you should make a game. And I'm like, yeah, man, all that time that I have to do that. I wish I could, because I'd totally do it, but I don't know when I'm going to do that. Maybe you guys need to stop assigning us 100-hour Japanese role-playing games first.
Look,
Why don't you guys try that?
I cannot confirm nor deny if I voted for that game that I then said I was going to play alongside y'all and totally abandoned and still haven't finished. I started it on the Switch. I just haven't finished it.
It's fine.
I
can understand why people wouldn't want to.
I didn't finish it either, as it turns out. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me right now. Not a whole lot going on other than just trying to keep up with all the stuff that we're going to be talking about for the rest of the year on the show. So there you go. Speaking of the show, Chris, I do believe that we probably ought to move things along to the next segment, which, if I recall correctly, I believe is the brief history. And you know what? I think you should take this one.
I agree.
Yeah. So why don't you go ahead and let the people know what the deal is, the story, the origin, the lore, perhaps, behind Castle Crashers.
Playing games online is nothing new today. Downloading games is fully normalized. But in the not-so-distant past, this was not the case. Physical games that included the entire game on the media that was sold to you were what ruled the land. So when the Xbox 360 landed in homes in 2005 and made Xbox Live Arcade accessible to the masses, the thought of downloading games and easily playing games with or against your friends was an exciting concept. While most of these games were not large in size, which was still reserved for full retail releases, these games still provided a bit of a gateway drug for what was soon to come in the future. One of these standouts was Castle Crashers. Developed by the Behemoth and published originally by Microsoft Game Studios, eventually becoming self-published, the game was first shown off on July 14th, 2005 at San Diego Comic-Con under the working title Ye Olde Side-Scroller, and also running on GameCube hardware. The game's development was being led by Dan Paladin and Tom Fulp of Newgrounds fame. Look it up, kids. The game seemed to have some of that site's trademark style and humor, as well as a visual style shared with the team's previous work of the semi-successful Alien Hominid. It would again be shown off at the 2006 Comic-Con with its new name, Castle Crashers, which would stick and would also be formally announced for Xbox Live Arcade, totally foregoing any rumors of a previous generation release despite the Nintendo connection. Castle Crashers would see release for Xbox Live Arcade on August 27th, 2008. Reception was mostly positive from critics, garnering an 82 in aggregate from Metacritic, with a more wildly successful result on the commercial side, securing over 2 million units sold by the end of 2010. And while the aggregate score may not be an exciting number on its face, it did garner quite a bit of yearly award cred and additional praise as being listed in several publications' best of lists, an example of the genre of the game it occupied, which was beat-em-ups. Castle Crashers' success would see it also be released for the PS3 in August of 2010 and for PC in August of 2012. There would also be remasters for the game on the next generation of hardware, with the Xbox One seeing that release of Castle Crashers in 2015, while the PS4 and the Switch got their versions in 2019. Castle Crashers remains a beloved game to this day, and while the game has received DLC in the past, it received brand new DLC even up to August 6th, 2025, which is in extreme proximity to this episode's recording. While no sequel has ever been in the works officially, it appears that Castle Crashers will continue to be admired beyond establishing its digital niche years ago. And that is your brief history of Castle Crashers.
You know, I still have, actually, because I don't think I've changed it. I think my Xbox 360 avatar is still the Blue Knight from Castle Crashers. Now that I think about it,
that's wild. So many people use those. I saw a lot of those. I saw a lot of those avatars on the 360.
Yep,
it's wild. It's wild. Since we're kind of getting into our personal experiences here, and before I do, I just want to say it's wild that it started out as a GameCube game, but actually that makes sense. But anyway, let's get into our personal experiences with this game. And I am going to start because it's literally zero. I actually went in to playing this game with the expectation I was going to play a tower defense. I didn't even know it was a side-scrolling beat 'em up. I had no idea. I just knew a lot of people liked it. I was like, yeah, it's probably one of those games that started the tower defense phase a while back. I was completely wrong. So color me shocked when I started playing the game. Completely blown away. That's me. Let's get to Shane. Because I don't know which of the two of you has the larger story. I'm trying to bet. I'm thinking it's Matt. I don't know. It could be either.
I'm pretty sure it's Matt.
Okay.
I mean, so I at least, knew what it was. So thank you for the extremely low bar on that one. But
You're welcome.
No, as most folks who've listened to the show for a while probably know, I've talked about how I came to the 360 pretty late in its life cycle. I hadn't owned a console since the N64, actually. There was a wide gap there, and that was mostly because I was playing PC games pretty much exclusively for quite a while. And so the 360 was actually my reintroduction to console gaming, as it turns out. And this was like one of the first things I remember grabbing off of Xbox Live Arcade. I also, and I don't want to go too far into this because it's going to come up later, and I think Matt and I are going to have an interesting discussion about it, but I didn't play much of it because I did not play with other people. I played it solo and I kind of bounced off it for reasons that I'll get into later. But yeah, that's kind of the majority of it. I like the art style though, so that's why I picked the avatar. I think the knight looks cool, and then I just never changed it. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
Sweet. All right, Matt, what you got going on?
So this is going to be a long one. For one,
Good.
I will show for the camera, the audio listeners can't see, but I actually have a action figure of the Blue Knight. So it's funny that you mentioned the Blue Knight was your avatar. I bought this from Behemoth. I think the year I think when it went to PC, they were at PAX and they were selling stuff. But yeah, and I'm currently wearing an Alien Hominid Invasion shirt that the listener can also not see. Yeah, I have been a fan of the Behemoth since Alien Hominid came to web browsers and Flash on Newgrounds, whenever that was. I refuse to look up the date at this point. A long time ago. I'm what you would call old. I loved that game. Thought it was goofy and dumb. And then when it came to the GameCube, which is why I was surprised, I actually didn't know the Castle Crashers connection, that it was originally developed on the GameCube as like a demo. Alien Hominid was their first console release on GameCube. It was the first time they were on a video game console on a disc. It actually kills me that I got rid of my disc version of that game because it's so hard to find now. But so I had loved them for quite some time. I had been a fan. I loved the Newgrounds stuff. I loved the art that they would do on Newgrounds, and was a Dan Paladin fan from his animations. And so when I heard that there was a new game by them coming out on Xbox Live Arcade, I was just there day one. A little bit about my Xbox 360 experience. So I wasn't going to buy an Xbox. I was a PlayStation kid. And then a friend of mine invited me over to play Rock Band. And then this little game by a studio I'd never heard of called BioWare, called Mass Effect. He's like, you got to try it. They made Knights of the Old Republic. It's great. Yeah.
No.
I proceeded. He's like, just make a character. You'll see if you like it. Proceeded to be there till like 4 a.m. and played for like 6 hours straight. He had to get up for work in the morning and kick me out. And then like within, it feels like weeks, but it's probably months. But around my birthday, shortly after that, I was like, I need an Xbox 360. Can I get one for my birthday? And I did. And I got Mass Effect and Rock Band, and off I was to the races. But the thing that's important to me about Castle Crashers, besides loving this game, and I bought it. I played online with friends all the time. A lot of my friends were in the Xbox ecosystem at that point, so we all played online together. But this game, Braid, and Explosion Man are the three games on Xbox Live Arcade that taught me what indie games were. Like, I'd never heard of an indie game. I didn't know what an indie game was. And I don't even know that they were called indie games back then. They were called Xbox Live Arcade games. But the language that would then become my knowledge of indie games as I became an indie obsessive much later started here. And Castle Crashers is like part of that core legacy. And I think also easily one of my favorite games from that era. And so when I saw that this was on the list, my first reaction when you sent me the list and I saw this on there, I went, well, that can't be right. It's not that old.
You thought.
It's actually, just to interject a little bit, I put this on the list because I thought it was the 15th year anniversary.
Nope.
Unfortunately, I looked at the PlayStation release, which we had just covered. So back to you, Matt.
Yeah, it's crazy that this game is over 20 years old. It's just kind of mind blowing to me. It's 22 years old, 23 years old. I'm bad at math. Came out
17.
in 2008. Yeah, so 17 years old. But so not over 20 years old. I can't believe it's over 15 years old, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so I have a lot invested in this game as far as like my history with gaming, because the Xbox 360 era is like when I started to peter out of gaming towards the end of it. I wouldn't get back into the gaming ecosystem until the middle of the PS4's life cycle. I had a Wii, and handheld consoles, but I wasn't really playing a ton of games for that break. But like the Xbox 360 is like the end of my first phase of gaming, and Castle Crashers is pretty closely tied to like my love of beat 'em ups, indie games, and the work of the Behemoth, which I would continue to love after I bought every one of those their games multiple times, because I had them on my 360 and then I got rid of my 360. So then I had to buy them all again on Steam. That's how that goes. So you were both correct in the fact that the person wearing the Alien Hominid t-shirt had a lot of investment in the Behemoth and this game.
I'm still shocked. It's not Shane. Kidding. That's great stuff, Matt. I love to hear that. I always find myself in blind spots and like just because I thought I was in like gaming culture, like really into it. I didn't even know what kind of genre this was, and just like hearing that a lot of people played at the time. It's just like there's so many blind spots in people's gaming windows that like don't be afraid to look in those. I don't know, the weird tangent here, but just like it's always amazing what you can look at and discover and never know what's there. It's always great to do that. That was a terrible story. How does this game's plot and writing for Castle Crashers? I don't know what it is. Normally I introduce it when it comes with the manual, but this is a digital game and I'm too lazy to look up if they printed anything. But I will say, just to kick this one off, and either of you two can go beyond it here. It just it seems like a typical damsel in distress game, where you know
damsels plural,
damsels in distress,
and a clown,
a clown damsel.
Spoilers
on Steam.
People know what they're getting into, Matt.
That's true.
Pretty much on Steam, like the card for the clown princess, by the way. It's a very sexy clown princess.
It's true.
That could have been an awakening for many people.
It's true, actually. That's totally true.
It would have been an awakening for me, that's for sure. If I had seen it at that age. Very good art. We'll get there too. But it is a damsels in distress game. You are partying in a castle. Your character is probably raising up the metal sign for metal. And all of a sudden, some people come in and they kidnap your princesses.
You sound like such a fucking old man right then.
I am an old man, Shane.
They're putting up the sign for the metal. The metal sign.
They're all possessed, and they won't get off my lawn.
It's the music
kids.
of Satan.
Oh. This is why I have a gray beard, Shane. This is why I have a great beard. Yes.
Sure. Yeah. Go on. Yeah.
Yeah. The guy with long hair and a beard is sounding like the old man talking about metal. Go figure. But that's what happened. Anyway, over to you two. I don't care who goes beyond here. What did you think of the plot / writing?
I mean, I feel like I'm just gonna let Matt go on this one because like I don't even know what to say. Like.
Metal.
You kind of covered it. That's it. Here you go. Here is a plot that is literally just the reason to do the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Which is like most beat 'em ups, which is fine. It's fine.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's effectively Streets of Rage 2, right? Like it's bad guy, go get the bad guy, go save the person, right? Like it's pretty actually go get the guy and save the person is basically every beat 'em up I can think of. Double Dragon, Final Fight, Streets of Rage, Castle Crashers, like River City Girls, even modern stuff. I feel like that's the game.
Oh, hold on. I will say that Turtles in Time is not that. It is find the guy, save the statue.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. And Shredder's
April wasn't captured. That's right.
No,
she wasn't.
And in Shredder's Revenge, you can even play as April. Like, so she's really like kicking ass in that one. So, yeah, so you're right. The Turtles games are a cut above because they broke outside the mold. I would agree with that.
One of many reasons.
One of many reasons.
Something Sonic could have learned from.
Right?
By the way.
Yeah, totally. Although I kind of like this
one of many things.
I would play a Sonic beat 'em up. I'm just saying that would be kind of awesome. And like
I am surprised that hasn't happened.
Me too.
Sonic the Fighters is it's a fighting game, but close.
No.
No.
Yeah,
no.
Close. No. Yeah, no.
That's what you would get. Be careful what you wish for as the monkey paw girls.
Yeah.
Oh,
you have to.
Heaven forbid we get a bad Sonic game.
I
Chris.
know, right? That'd be a shocker. You would have to start the game playing as Bean. People are like, who's Bean? Exactly.
Exactly. But as far as the story goes, yeah, I mean, it's a dark wizard kidnaps takes your giant king crystal and all the princesses, flies away, and then you have to battle your way through the kingdom, fighting various villains to rescue the various princesses, and then save the day. And yeah, I mean, as far as the story for beat 'em up goes, it's fine. Like Is it the best story I've ever seen? Of course not. Is it a fun story to move you through the game? Yeah, totally. It's totally as fun as I think the best parts of the plot and story are not so much in the writing, quote unquote, but in like the character moments that happen along the way, the goofy scenarios that happen. We've all talked about the deer pooping rocket. Like there's just like silly moments as far as the plot and writing, quote unquote, that I like. But like, yeah, as an overall story, it's a beat 'em up story where you go rescue the person, go kill the bad guys.
Yeah, we never really find out like what the true purpose / power of the crystal is, right? All we know is that it's just like a very powerful magical artifact.
Basically, yeah.
It's just kind of
Very powerful plot device.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big shiny MacGuffin.
Yes.
Basically, yes.
It's the best kind of plot where you don't have to think too hard about what the bad guy's motivation is. They're a bad guy.
Yeah.
I like that. I would agree with you, Matt, in the fact that most of the game's storytelling is done through its presentation. So I think we're mostly going to talk about that when we get into like the game's graphics, because I think that's where most of that is. I do think like a lot of the things it does do in terms of its storytelling, if you want to call it that, is cute. Like the Cyclops and how the Cyclops reacts to the Knight's death, how he gets Yeah, like the Cyclops has an arc.
Yeah. That's true. He's one of the few characters in the game that does. You're actually right.
Better character art than Jaime Lannister.
I mean, that's not hard.
No.
Yeah. Wow.
But I mean, you're right on target. This is a beat 'em up. I don't have to elaborate on that. If a beat 'em up has an elaborate plot, there's probably some pacing issues. And as great as Chronicles of Mystara, Dungeons and Dragons is, that is one of its issues, is that there's some pacing issues because of the plot. Shane, you remember that, but
I do.
Yeah, I like the fact that there is no plot because it makes the pacing so good, which is because it's a beat 'em up. And yeah, I don't know. Let's not stay here too long, because that would kind of defeat the purpose of anything, really. Let's get into the gameplay and talk about, we have been talking about how this is a beat 'em up. Shane, you can kick this one off and just get into it. What are you thinking here?
Okay. Let's see. How do I feel?
Sound a little too excited.
So this is the reason that I kind of didn't stick with the game for very long when I initially played it way back when. And that is because the game very much is intended to be played with multiple people, which is fine. Like there's nothing wrong with that. But I would argue that I don't think it is balanced very well for a single player experience, because the gameplay is like not even challenging in like a, I don't know, like a Soulsy kind of way. It's like aggravating. It's irritatingly difficult because it cheap shots the fuck out of you like time and time again, which is less of an annoyance when you're playing with like, 1, 2, 3 other people, because it's just absolute mayhem and it's a lot of fun actually. But if you're playing solo, at least in my experience, the gameplay mechanics kind of leave a lot to be desired, because I have to think there's like certain things that make beat 'em ups feel good to play. And one of those things that this game doesn't do that irritates me just to no end is uncancelable animations. And what I mean by that is, like, if you hit the button to swing your weapon, you cannot cancel out of that by then hitting block to react to something coming at you, which you should be able to do. Because if I, as the player, right, am quick enough and notice that, like, oh, this jackass is going to shoot me with a bow while I'm trying to fight this other guy, and I react fast enough to hit the button in time to block, but then the character doesn't do what I want it to because he's locked into an animation, feels really fucking bad. And it happens all the time. And it is so frustrating. And it's like those little things, like, on the whole, the gameplay is generally fine. It's a pretty good beat 'em up, but there's like those little things that over time just start, at least again, for me, subjectively, start to just wear on you. And then when the game starts throwing these like waves of enemies at you, even if you're using your magic abilities, assuming that you leveled your magic because you can spend points when you level up, you still kind of get overwhelmed, especially when most enemies have some sort of ranged ability that will almost always knock you on your ass. And there have been plenty of times where I have effectively gotten stun locked by ranged attacks until I died. And there was like almost nothing I could do about it. Sometimes I could move out of the way. Sometimes I could jump to escape like the onslaught of projectiles. But there were plenty of times where I just got stunned to death. And again, feels really bad. So I feel like there are some shortcomings there that could have brought this up to a higher level, like where I place things like Turtles in Time, like I mentioned, where they're just like exceptional beat 'em ups because they control so well and feel so good to play. But there's these little things that, like I said, over time, they just start building and building and building where you're just like, you know what? I'm fucking done with this. Like, great example, the Thieves Arena. Dude, fuck that. Oh my God, I was screaming at my Steam Deck because it's just like 12 dudes shooting arrows at you and you're just getting bounced around the arena the entire time. And yes, you have a block button, but like, there's no way you're going to block all of them. And so basically the strategy is, I don't know, try to run around the arena and hope that you don't get sniped, because if you do, then you get knocked on your ass. And then you'll probably get stun locked by like 4 or 5 other dudes shooting arrows at you. That arena sucked. And I have a lot of things about the gameplay that really bother me. And it sucks because like outside of those like things that kind of make that feel bad, I really like pretty much everything else about it. And I think if those things had been rectified, I would put this, like I said, on my personal tier list, like way higher than I feel like it is right now. However, playing with people makes that experience vastly better. But I have to say that I feel like it's because it's sort of masking the problem by just having like more players on the screen rather than solving it, if that makes sense.
No, I think what you say makes sense, but Matt, I'll allow you to counter.
So, I mean, Shane's not wrong. I mean, the game can be pretty cheap, but I will say that it is not unique to this beat 'em up. I like, for example, I think that a lot of beat 'em ups are built for the multiplayer experience, not the single player experience. My greatest example of a modern one is River City Girls, a game that I think is incredible, but I couldn't get past the first boss because I kept getting clobbered, because the game really wants you to be playing as both characters, not by yourself, and there's no computer player. Which I want to know why modern beat 'em ups don't just let you have CPUs that team with you. It just doesn't make sense to me at this point. Like, these games are built for multiplayer. They are built to have, like, Turtles. The new Turtles game is built to have 6 people on screen. You can't have a couple of computer bots that support you. Like, I get, like, if you have an XP system, maybe they're going to get your kills or whatever, fine. But I don't know. It seems like a no-brainer to me, right? Like, not everybody can play online. Not everybody has friends to play with, right? Whatever it is, like, no beat 'em up that I can think of allows CPU player characters to wander with you.
Haprium.
Oh, okay, sure. One obscure beat 'em up that I've never heard of.
Let's not talk about Haprium. There's like controversy beyond it. Anyway, okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But all of that to say, I mean, I experienced the same thing. I mean, I made the stupid decision to max out magic, which can be rewarding, but it does make you squishier. But like, the magic in this game is like some of I think the gameplay at its best, because you get a spray magic attack, a bolt magic attack, a jump magic attack that launches you into the air, a ranged magic attack that pushes you back at a diagonal. Like, you can jump around using just magic. And if you max out your magic stat, it also regenerates pretty quick and you have a larger pool. And so I think that's when the mechanics are at their most dynamic, is when you do the magic. But if you don't, I mean, yes, you can't really cancel the melee attacks and you can get overwhelmed easily. But because I did play Magic this time, and I was playing the remastered version on Switch, so I have no idea if they tuned anything for that versus the Steam version, which I know you guys played. But my experience, though frustrating, there were plenty of stages on where, like, I died with a sliver of health on the final boss of like a 5-minute stage and to do the whole thing over again. Definitely frustrating. But I also found once I had enough money playing by myself and could load up on potions, for the most part, I could get through any stage. Sometimes there were a few stages I had to retry. And so while I don't share the extreme at which it bothered Shane, I understand why Shane was frustrated. I think I can safely say that I have nostalgia coloring some of that. Like I did get frustrated, even angry at some points like you did, Shane. But then I stepped away for 10 minutes and went, fuck it, I'm just going to go try and beat that stage, and then would beat it and then move on to the next thing. And like the things I love about it carried me through the frustrating moments. But I think it's an absolutely valid complaint. The only thing I'd push back on is that it's the only, it's like this beat 'em up fails because it's tuned for multiplayer. Because I think a lot of beat 'em ups are designed that way. I haven't played classic Turtles in a long time. I replayed the arcade version recently on the collection, and it seemed to work fine single player. But I do know that most beat 'em ups I've ever played, even Streets of Rage 2, which I consider to be one of the best, still has cheap moments where you get cornered, you get pummeled. Like that's kind of inherent in the genre. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I am saying it's not necessarily unique to this game, is I guess all I'll say. But the complaints are totally valid because like the thieves are the worst. They are hands down, them and the demon bat creatures that shoot fireballs, both of them, they just pummel you and then you're dead. And like that happened many times to me when playing also.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that it's like unique to this game at all. Like, and I recognize that it's something that's a little more endemic, I think. And I wouldn't even say that it like I don't want to say that it failed. I wouldn't go that far. It's just it is I almost one of two things I would have preferred, I think. Either one, this take the like Four Swords approach where it's just like if you aren't playing with other people, you just cannot play this game. Because then I would have been like, all right, I'm just going to skip this one. Or there really should have been some better balancing and tuning for the single player experience. Because part of kind of what went into making it frustrating as well, besides the, some of those mechanics that I already mentioned, is that like almost every enemy feels like an HP sponge. Like they take so long to kill that it's like, it almost starts feeling like a slog, like especially if you like you said, I've definitely died at like a boss at the end of a level and then you have to go and replay the level again, which you could argue is mitigated somewhat by the leveling system because you can just go and grind it out, right, and level yourself up and sort of overcome it just statistically. And who knows, like maybe that's part of it. Like maybe there's like what I would call a gear check, but this is coming from my MMO days, I guess. But like basically just like a gear check point of like, oh, maybe you haven't leveled enough. And if you're getting your ass handed to you, maybe you need to go run the previous level a couple more times to gain some more stat points or something. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only counter I have to the HP sponge thing is, again, when your magic is maxed out, the numbers are so big that it feels less like that. But definitely when you're maxing out, if you're focusing on like either agility or strength weapon damage, definitely takes longer to get to those higher numbers with those paths than the magic, which starts at a higher number to begin with. It's just less frequent until you level it up. So like the game gives you avenues, but also it doesn't communicate that at all because it's a classic old school beat 'em up in the early days of indie. Like the tutorialization in this game, the basic level is fine, but you kind of have to look up like, well, how much does magic go up? What do each stat do? They give you like the basics, but you don't really know what the paths hold unless you kind of go out of your way to look it up.
Right.
So as someone whose favorite game of all time is a beat 'em up in Streets of Rage 2, I'm going to play the extremely pretentious and sanctimonious person here. At least I'm going to try and try to be that character. I have the mentality that, yes, if you're engaging with beat 'em up, you have to expect cheap moments. The entire genre is kind of built on the foundation of being an arcade game, going back to Double Dragon, Golden Axe, Final Fight. And what are arcades designed to do? To eat your quarters. Now, the thing that I view differently between old beat 'em ups back then and modern beat 'em ups is I do feel like the older beat 'em ups, and I might get roasted for this, are better tuned for the one player experience, because there is a difference between a single player and a 2-player mode. Like there's a difference in how many enemies you have, sometimes how many bosses you have. And there wasn't really a separation. And this isn't a Castle Crasher thing exclusively, kind of to Matt's point, but it is more of a modern beat 'em up phenomenon. I don't want to say phenomenon, but trend. Exclusively, where the single player and the 2-player experience aren't any different noticeably. And maybe it is, I just haven't been paying attention, whether it's River City Girls, which I thought was fantastic, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which I thought was fantastic, and this game, which I'll give my thoughts on when we get to the end of it. But like when you look at those games, like is there really a difference between the single player and the 2-player mode? Not really. They don't really decrease anything for the most part. And this one is like very highly evident. And even playing multiplayer, the level layout was the same, the amount of enemies was the same, everything was the same. That's not good. And I'll 100% lean into that. That's not good. But one of the best things about beat 'em ups isn't necessarily how well the game controls, which I have some issues with, but how well you can cheese it. It's figuring out how to manipulate it and how to cheese the fuck out of it. Streets of Rage 2, you can cheese the hell out of by doing tap forward and then the attack button. Grand upper, Axel's move, people can go the entire game by just doing that if they know how to do it. But it still requires knowledge of timing, enemy placement, all that stuff like that. Like it requires some knowledge of the game layout, but you can cheese the hell out of it. Castle Crashers does that too, where you can get someone up at the edge against the screen and continuously combo heavy attacks with them. Or what I like to do, because I think it's just fun, is to just juggle them across the screen the entire way until they die, and just constantly bang them off the side of the screen. And that's how I kind of played the entire game. Now, how much mileage you get out of that, that's going to be entirely dependent upon the player. I think it's just, if you're a little bit of a masochist, which I think I may have some masochist tendencies, I don't know. Like you just doing that over and over, or is it sadist? I'm not sure. I need help either way. But if I just continually do that, I find enjoyment in that, because I'm finding that I'm manipulating the system, and I'm taking advantage of a system that's presenting the opportunity to do so. And I think that's a core element of beat 'em ups that I think most people don't seem to entirely grasp onto. And I think a lot of people too will look up a strategy and say, well, this is all I need to do. But I think for beat 'em ups, the joy is finding the strategy on your own and then manipulating it to the point where you can cheese it and feel some gratification from that. I do think Castle Crashers does that. But there are some things I didn't like in terms of playing multiplayer. I got lost a lot. It became a problem finding out where I was.
Yeah.
There was a point we were playing all together. Like it was just me and Shane. Matt wasn't even there yet. And we were at the catfish battle. Thank you, Matt, for realize with the pun there. I was like, where am I? And Shane was like, you're behind the ship. I'm like, oh, I didn't know where I was. I had no idea where my position on the screen was. And this is probably just me being an old guy, right? But this is just how I got lost. And sometimes hit placement, if you're not directly aligned with another enemy, it feels like sometimes you should hit them and you don't. Like the hit placement is just weird. It's a little off. It's not entirely correct. But getting to Shane's point about the leveling system that's in here, it's both a blessing and a curse. Mm-hmm. Because you get into an area, I think a beat 'em up does need to be naturally progressive. That if I'm playing by myself, by the time I get to the end, I should, in theory, be powerful enough in order to conquer what's in front of me. But I did find myself having to rely on level ups in order to conquer various situations. There was one situation we got into when we were streaming where you had the big guy with the other three little guys swarming you, and that big guy just comes at you and like tracks you and homes in on you. And if you get close to him, this is the factory, I think. He'll throw you across the screen. He'll grab you and he'll throw you across the screen. So you have to manipulate your magic and your range attacks. But if you aren't leveled up in that, it's going to be very futile in order to do that. So it's a blessing and the curse, the leveling system. Overall, I say that it feels relatively solid. And yes, it is an experience that's designed to be played with multiple people. And it feels like that almost to a fault, but it's not unconquerable. So it does keep having this carrot stick mentality. That's fine. And by the way, I'm not going to bitch about the arenas. They're optional. They're for optional characters. So if that's a major flaw for you,
it's not a major flaw. I was bringing it up because it illustrates the mechanic that is bullshit when they throw like 12 thieves at you, all shooting arrows and tracking your movement constantly.
Yeah, but you don't have to do it.
Yes, but there were also...
I fucking know that. I'm not complaining about the arena, Chris. I'm complaining about the mechanic that it very much brings to painful light. That is what I'm complaining about.
You also do fight hordes of thieves in several levels, and they are just as annoying. So
yeah,
I can
see
it.
Not as bad as the arena. Not as bad as the arena. I hated the arenas.
I mean, yeah, I didn't really play the arenas. There's a new mini game in the remaster, which I didn't play either, but that's something that Behemoth has done with all their games since way back. Even with Alien Hominid, had a bunch of mini games in it as well, and so that's pretty common for them to like add mini games to their major titles.
Yeah, I still think it's relatively solid, flaws and all. I think It does what it needs to do. I mean, this essentially, if you look back at the early days of Xbox Live Arcade, they had a size limit. And I think they were playing within that size limit. And knowledgeable listeners will know that the game that broke that size limit was Castlevania Symphony of the Night when that came out on the Xbox Live Arcade. Because it had a size cap. So Microsoft wanted these games to be smaller. And Newgrounds, they specialized in Flash games.
Yep.
So this is essentially a glorified Flash game. So I don't want to.
I think it's more complex than that, but their learnings were from Flash games. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. You're correct. I don't want to like poo-poo on them because of that. Like Flash games are still games. Poo-poo is an appropriate phrase for this game. Like when you kind of have that experience going into a more robust console game, I think you're going to see some of the issues that I kind of brought up. Yeah. And just inherent. It's just kind of like with the Flash mentality. It's fine. Like you can get around it. It's not insurmountable, but I mean, they are things that you notice. And I think that comes from that background and experience for sure. That's all I have there. I ranted for too long.
I don't know. Where do we go from here?
I don't know. Like, does anyone have any issues with what I said? I don't care.
No. I think something about the beat 'em up genre that's pretty specific to beat 'em ups is your experience with the gameplay will determine how much you enjoy the game because it is gameplay driven.
Sure.
While I agree with Chris that most beat 'em ups have cheap moments like that, it's kind of part of the oeuvre of the games. I also can't disagree with Shane not liking it because it is frustrating. Like, but I think your mileage will vary with the gameplay. And again, also like I specialized in Magic this playthrough, which I'm sure I've done in the past. I played this game a bunch on the Xbox 360, but definitely hadn't done it recently. That completely changed how I played this game versus a lot of other beat 'em ups where you can get abilities and you get a new move, you 3-hit combo and a 4-hit combo. It doesn't really change a lot. I feel like the new moves you unlock in this game, the throws, the 1-2 punch, the juggles, all of that does enhance the experience. But if you get pinned in a corner by a thief shooting arrows at you, you're done. I see both sides of it. I'm both sidesing this a little bit, but ultimately I enjoyed the gameplay because once I got beyond those frustrating moments or just overspent on potions, I was fine.
Oh my God. This is probably a good segue in the bosses, but like the lack of iframes, as I've been told they're properly called.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It can be brutal.
Oh,
The boss in the factory was where I just wanted to be like, I quit because that big hand like walked over and knocked me into the fire pit. The fire pit knocked me back into the big hand and just kept on going.
Yep.
I'm like, I'm done. I'm fucking done.
There are bosses in this game that have strategy. Like I love the Ice King boss. I don't know what his actual name is, but the frog.
I love him too. Yeah.
But like that one has phases and cycles and it's slow, But like there's a strategy to that boss. But like the giant super machine or even the barbarian in the beginning, like he takes up half the screen and you don't, like, if he hits you, you're stuck on the ground and then he pops you out of the ground. Like you can't get away from it. Or even when we were playing multiplayer and we fought the Cyclops the first time, I basically avoided him because I had no health while the two of you beat on him. And if his back was to me, then I started hitting him because these enemies, when they hit you and you are on the ground, the combat is designed where also when the enemies are on the ground, you can stomp them to death and they can never get up. But the bosses can also do the same to you and often do. And that can be frustrating. I'd say like half the bosses were fun and then half the bosses are kind of a pain in the ass. I actually really liked the final boss. I thought
I did too.
I thought that his phases made sense. And it was what I do like about this game is it's easy to read what plane you're on. Everything has a shadow. That I love. Like I never couldn't hit something because I couldn't realize what plane I was on. If you line up with the shadow, you can hit them, and anything that was in the air had a shadow. And so that actually made that part of gameplay a lot easier.
I would like to introduce the
Except for volleyballs. Yeah.
Yeah. Except for that one. That one sucked.
Except for that one. Yeah. Shane, you got anything to add? I think we covered the bosses adequately, unless you wanted to put something in there.
No. I mean, I don't. I feel like I want to cap off the gameplay segment here by just saying that, like, despite what I think I came across as, which was generally like relentlessly negative about it, there is a lot to like. I just think that there are some things that, if they had been tweaked just a little bit, would have made the experience like so much better than it currently is. But that's not to say that it's a bad experience. There's some shortcomings,
Yeah.
That's all.
Mm-hmm. Well, with that being said, let's get into the graphical presentation, which I'd already mentioned was going to be a bit of the storytelling. I'm gonna kick this one off and see where both of you feel about what I say here. What I'm about to say, I don't mean it. I don't mean it as a negative. I mean it as a compliment. I don't mean it like I mean this in the most sincere, complimentary way possible. This looks like a Flash game.
Yeah.
In the best way possible. It looks like a Newgrounds Flash game. And I actually kind of love that about this, where sometimes things don't have frames of animation and you have a deer like jet shitting his way across like a long log cabin, right? Running away from a monster. Like those aren't things that you expect at most kind of game development nowadays. Like a lot of the critique is how many frames of animation do you have and how fluid are those frames of animation, how good they look. I don't care. Like I love the fact that sometimes this game feels like it goes to the bargain bin in order to get its point across. And I feel like that's very appropriate for the presentation because like it does do gross, funny things, but that's not what it's trying to do all the time. It has like a more reserved 90s gross out humor. Like it doesn't go Ren and Stimpy territory. It's more Rocko's Modern Life territory. And I love it for that because those shows were my jam growing up as a kid. And so I look at this and, Newgrounds was that came out when I was before high school and into high school. And I was like looking at that stuff. And that's kind of that's my early internet experience. And Flash games were a big part of my early internet life. So this is right at home with me. I love it. I love the fact that it comes across so fluidly the way it does. I love the character design. I love the enemy design. Just everything here is bright, colorful, and fun. And I have zero complaints. I love the way this game looks.
All right. I'll jump in next, I guess.
Nope.
Yeah, I think I generally actually agree. I really like the aesthetic that the game goes for. It is. And I think a lot of it, this is where I think the like millennial nostalgia, I guess, let's say, comes into play because it is very, very much like Flash game, Newgrounds, things I was playing on a computer when I probably should have been doing schoolwork kind of thing. That's what it feels like. And so in a way, it feels like kind of comfy, I guess is a good way to put it. Like it's like a it's a comfy zone, I think. It's something that you can sort of relate to. And that's obviously for somebody who's coming to this like fresh or whatever that isn't our age or in that range, probably won't get that same vibe at all. But even outside of those very rose tinted glasses, I think the art style, I think personally holds up still pretty well, because it, as with any other thing that we've talked about on this show, particularly with 2D games, if they stick to a particular style and aesthetic and really just lean into it, like unabashedly just go for it, it usually works out pretty well. Like, unless you absolutely hate the style they've chosen, it's going to hold up pretty well, because that stylization will carry it and give it a much longer tail than something that's, trying to be more realistic or what have you. It feels very dated. This to me doesn't. Like, this could have been something that was an indie game that was just released on Steam like this week, and I probably would have been like, yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So I think it does have at the risk of being sort of hyperbolic, I want to say that it does have a bit of a timeless quality to it because of the style that it's chosen.
100% agree.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you both. What I love about Dan Paladin's style and the Behemoth in general is, if you look at any of the games they've made, Battle Block Theater, Pit People, this, Alien Hominid, the style is the same throughout, and the style is big readable shapes. There are other things, but it's basically big readable shapes and goofy expressions. Like, what I love about these characters is not only are they readable and well animated, but the expressions and the detail in the expressions, even if it's 2 frames of a character freaking out, are so readable and so easy to understand. And to speak to what Shane was talking about, I will always say that if your game has art direction, and what I mean by that is like a style all its own, it will live forever. If you try and make things look realistic, like in, say, GoldenEye, a game I love, it looks old and bad eventually, because it just, unless you're nostalgic for it, it doesn't look realistic, and they were going for realism. But when you have games like this, where it's goofy and over the top and colorful, it ages so much better. It's why pixel art often ages better than polygons, because unless you're making a Banjo-Kazooie or a Mario 64 where it's cartoony-esque, polygons can age more poorly because of how realistic you want it to look. But then when you have games, even like the Final Fantasies on PlayStation, they've mostly aged fairly well, because even the realistic ones were still going for an art direction, a suspension of disbelief. Some achieved it better than others, Popeye sprites and all in 7. But like, I feel like a game like this and early indie games like this and Braid and Splosion Man all were kind of balls to the wall in their art direction, very much stylistic, unique, trying something different, because AAA games at the time weren't doing this, and it was going back to a more retro aesthetic. And that's what's so funny about Shane saying that, and I agree, this could be on the marketplace today, like could have come out yesterday, and I believe that it came out yesterday, and it fits in with all of the modern indie games, but it's not. It's 17 years old. It's the beginning of this trend, and I love that. To that end, I feel like you, Shane, saying it's timeless is not hyperbolic, because it's proven timeless. It's 17 years old and looks like it could have come out today based on the kinds of aesthetic and ethos that a lot of modern indie games have. And I love that about it. I completely agree about how it looks. I love the comedy told through 1 or 2 still animations, or like certain characters, or even like the boss battles you're talking about, the catfish earlier, like the way the catfish hurls hairballs, and you have to defeat the hairballs so the ship can fire the cannonball at it so it gets stunned, or like when it would crash into the side of the ship and sink and then like float up, and you'd have to, like, it's just, everything was with intent and very thoughtful. And that's because these are people who are used to animating in Flash on a budget, whatever they could do. And like, it's why I think all of their games not only look great, but like, and especially this one, they are memorable, right? Like, you didn't know what Castle Crashers played like, but you knew what it looked like. You recognized it, because it's a game that's kind of, in the ubiquitous pantheon of indie games. And so, yeah, I love the way this game looks. I think it absolutely holds up graphically. Like you, Chris, I don't miss like when a frame is missing in an animation, it just makes it look goofy. It doesn't make it look bad. Like we were hinting at the way the Cyclops dies. When you beat him, he falls in the lava and does the thumbs up as he's sinking the lava. When he falls in the lava, it's one frame. Like his body just tips into the lava. Like there's no movement. And then there's frames as he lifts his hand and then the thumb comes up and sinks. And like, I love that. I think it's all great. I think that a game like this will continue to remain timeless because Dan Paladin and this crew have such a distinct design and art style that was famous way before this game came and is still famous. Like you look at Alien Hominid Invasion, a game that came out a few years ago. I think it was last year. It looks like Alien Hominid, one of their first games. Updated, more details, but like the same design because they have that personality. If you hate it, then if you hate this game, you're going to hate all of their games graphically because it's the same style. But if you like it, like it's all so cohesive. And this whole game feels cohesive animation and style wise too.
And I think you really hit the nail on the head, Matt. I mean, this is an example of where graphical stylization ultimately trumps graphical fidelity in terms of what's more important. What is your overall design thesis? Well, like, what do you want to express to the player? And I'd also like to say it because another point you brought up, which I think helped them really craft their style and make that substance more impactful and better, is the fact that restraints and limitations breed creativity better than the lack thereof.
Yep.
And so if you're on a platform like Flash, where, not everybody, first of all, you have extremely limited memory, especially over, 56.6K baud modems. In some cases, people are 28.8 or 14.4. And this is what you're trying to get the masses to play. And this is what a lot of people did over that speed. You're very limited in how you can express yourself, express your art, express your games in that format. Even if it's through Flash Player, right? Like that, you only have so much space. So having that background made this probably was generally, not generally, but just greatly for the benefit of what came out of that. Dan Paladin just being able to do that because experience with having those limitations and constraints. So I think this game's a testament to so many different things that you could think of in terms of graphical style. And I agree with both of you. If this game was a brand new game that came out on Steam when its DLC just released on August 6th, this could be viewed as a legit indie game, brand new, right in the mix, getting into everything with the hype and all that. But you're right. It's a 17-year-old game. That's one of the Xbox Live Arcade's early darlings. And that's still mind-blowing. And I could understand, Matt, why you said it's hard to believe that this game is approaching 20 years old. It doesn't feel like it. It doesn't look like it. It doesn't flow like it. It's much. It feels modern in many ways, just because of where games have progressed over that time. It's certainly aged better than a lot of full retail Xbox 360 games. That's for sure. Maybe I'm giving away my thought on whether or not this game holds up today at the end, but it's true. It's true. It holds up so much better in that sense. Now, let's get into the music presentation. The music presentation, just the sound in general, what we thought about everything there. Matt, I saw you were very high on this. Mm-hmm. I'm going to let you start this off. What's your thoughts on the sound for Castle Crashers?
So, the sound design is great and goofy. The voice acting is minimal, but impactful, like the crying of the Cyclops, the sounds of the princesses as they get nabbed, the villains laughing. All minimal, but I think done really well in that kind of goofy, kind of Flash animation style way. The music, this is one of my favorite video game soundtracks ever. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One, it's so funny. If you look on the Wikipedia page or the Castle Crashers wiki, they both sort of have it right. Like they list one person as credited for composer, but it's not. This game's music was built by the Newgrounds community, much like Alien Hominid also. a variety of artists came together to make the music. Now, the person listed on Wikipedia, I don't even remember the name off the top of my head, is probably the arranger, Matthew Harwood, probably helped pull the soundtrack together. But like, first of all, the music diversity, like you've got like electronica, you've got like synthwave, you've got, you know, jovial, like kind of goofy circus music. Like it just kind of runs the gamut of like what kind of fits. You've got like dark kind of brooding songs. I really like how dynamic it is. Like we were talking about we were joking when we played together, you sail on a ship and get attacked by a pirate ship filled with ninjas, which is funny on its own. And it's got this kind of trance ninja tune. Like it feels like a feudal Japanese tune mixed with like a trance song, and it just kind of rocks. Like I really dig the soundtrack a lot. You know, I can see how some of the songs might be a little grating, but for the most part, I think it's a top-notch indie soundtrack and kind of a progenitor to the diversity of soundtracks we get later in games like a Hades or an Undertale even, although Toby Fox is doing a ton of different things there, right? Like I just think this kind of game and the games around the time that came out as this, like, let you lock into a vibe, but weren't afraid to kind of see what sticks, kind of go all over the map a little bit and play in the space, as it were.
Shane, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I agree with a lot of what Matt said. I love the fact that, you know, this does pretty much run a lot of that gamut between, you know, like literally the Four Brave Champions track could have been from a Dark Souls game. That's what it sounds like, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, totally.
But then you have like the Barracks song, which is like this derpy shit that sounds like it's like an out of tune kazoo, but it also fits, right? Like,
yeah.
So it takes those, and I don't even know if this was intentional because to be fair, I didn't know that this was like sort of like pseudo crowdsourced. I think that's awesome, by the way. I was not aware of that, but I'm not sure if it was necessarily 100% intentional that it does this, but if it is, I think it's a brave choice, right? Because it's much easier to play it safe and just have a soundtrack that, you know, is very cohesive in an almost boring kind of way. But then I also think about like the origins of like this game and that era of like Flash games and stuff like that. It was really just like, let's fucking do whatever we want to do and, you know, see if it works. I think that level of freedom kind of like paid off here because it is taken in like individual tracks. It's all over. It's completely disparate. It's all over the place. But when it's put together, it is like the sum of all of its parts, right? It is actually cohesive in its own very like weird, quirky sort of way. And I really appreciate that. And I don't really think there's a single like track that I could think of that I didn't like or that I found to be like annoying or grating. I generally really liked just about everything. So no, I don't really have too much negative to say there. Honestly, I think it was done pretty well.
I'm just going to echo what both of you say. I'm going to just, I think, rein it in a little bit in the fact that I really don't remember much of the tracks. In fact, in my Discord review, I gave the sound like a 3.5, not because I thought it was bad, just because I just didn't really remember it.
Mm.
I almost apologize for that because when we played it again on stream and Matt was like, yeah, this song's a banger. And I started listening to it and I was like, yeah, like it's really good. I just think I wasn't paying attention. I mean, just because the gameplay can be so frantic and there's so much going on, I just don't think I paid attention to it too much. But like when I actually tried to listen to it, I'm like, yeah, oh shit, this is good stuff. The sound design, of course, I think is just really good. It's appropriate. One of the things I generally have a belief in, I think this is a very commonly held belief, so I'm not saying anything original here. But if the sound effects, like if you have nothing to say about them, they're probably doing their job.
Yeah.
And in a beat 'em up, the most important thing is to make it feel that way, because you want to make sure that when you're attacking a character, like the sound makes you feel the impact. That's what's important in a beat 'em up. And I think Castle Crashers did their job very adequately. If it makes you feel that impact, then yeah, they did their job very, very well, and they did it greatly. Again, voice acting here is very minimal, so, and it doesn't get in the way, so A+, because it did everything it needed to do. And if you're not trying to tell a story with voice acting and you don't have voice acting, that's perfectly fine. Like a lot of games are like that. You don't need voice acting. You don't need a great story. It's a beat 'em up. Like it's just go have fun. You don't need it. So perfect. So I would say overall, like the sound is great. Music is, I mean, I need to go back and listen to it a little bit more carefully because admittedly I was not paying attention to it. Probably as much as either of you two sound like you were, but when it was pointed out, I had to step back and kind of think about it. I have to admit, like it was jamming. Like I absolutely loved it. So I'm on board 100% with what both of you two were saying.
I'll also say that this game has the best fart and poop sounds put to video games, without a doubt. Full stop. Name a better one.
It's got
I'm
just
waiting.
the right amount of moist
wetness.
Yes.
Yeah. Moistness. Yeah. I mean, I would say that for me, the soundtrack, I mean, again, I'm very nostalgic for this game. I've played it a lot, although it had been quite some time since I had replayed it. I think I played I dabbled in the Switch version when it first came out, when I bought it. And then I think I have it on every console at this point that I own. But like, yeah, I think that my love of the soundtrack goes a little deeper just because I've spent so much time listening to it, sitting with it. But I'm glad that you guys enjoyed it too. I think the other thing I'll say about the sound design is the impact of the sounds, like what you were saying, Chris, like the sounds have to matter in a beat 'em up. Like they felt both cartoony and realistic at the same time, if that makes sense. Like they were over the top, but believable in this ridiculous situation you were in. And that's like a hard line to ride. And I think they do it really well in this game.
And now it's time for our Patreon pontifications, where our patrons get to comment on what they think about our game of the week and what we're talking about. And what if you want to provide your thoughts on what we're talking about? Because we're a big enough show, meaning we're not big, where we still get to put all the comments that are given to us about the game that we're talking about in the show. So, like, I don't know. Does that mean we should grow or not? This is a horrible advertisement for Patreon. But if you want to have your comment read, head on over to our link tree, join the Patreon, and put it in the Discord or our Patreon, wherever. And I'm going to kick this one off with Mast Keaton. And Mast Keaton says, how is this game old enough to be retro? I played it with my buddies in college, and that was... Oh dear. In any case, I have no fun stories of playing this, but many fond generic memories of spending time with my friends beating up bad guys. Thank you, Mast Keaton.
The next one is Lucas from Game Over Hell on YouTube. And Lucas says, mentions of Castle Crashers always take me back to that time in the PS3 360 Wii era when the storefronts weren't suffering a deluge of budget releases and most people could comfortably pick most indie games being announced and expect a good time. I don't particularly like the art style of Castle Crashers or a lot of Newgrounds coded stuff, but this is one of the games that was like a light of hope amidst the excess of gray and brown, shooty shoot, or overly edgy games dominating the mainstream market. I remember a friend who is now a game dev coming over and showing it to everyone and how pure and to the point the gameplay cycle was for a modern game. Not something that's hard to find nowadays, but back then games like these stood out when they were showcased. And we have to thank Castle Crashers, among other titles like Cave Story and Super Meat Boy, for sparking the early indie renaissance. Well, heck, even if I've never liked the loud, edgy, gory sense of style or humor from the typical Newgrounds content, I have to concede that platform was also a huge contributor to that renaissance, to be honest. Looking forward to your impressions. I'm almost sure they will be overall positive. This game is pure pick up and play multiplayer beat 'em up fun, and I can't remember anyone who joined for a session and ending up saying that they hated it. Thank you, Lucas.
Up next, we have Soha. And Soha says, Castle Crashers is fun. I'm not too well versed in beat 'em ups, but I had a good time with this. You can upgrade your characters to be broken. And I remember one time I went full magic and spammed rainbows. Hey, me too. And
Nice.
spammed rainbows to kill everything in my way. I second Lucas in the sentiment that not liking the art style too much, which is why I didn't really play Battle Block Theater yet. But I like these folks that came from Newgrounds, and the Behemoth does good stuff. There was a new update to the game recently, by the way, 17 years after its release. Pretty wild.
All right, next is the Emperor. And the Emperor says, I picked up Castle Crashers on the Steam Deck well ahead of its heyday. I'm thoroughly impressed with my purchase, and it's a great beat 'em up. I can see how it can really be fun playing a 4-player couch co-op back in the day. Thank you, the Emperor. I do have to contest you saying you picked up Castle Crashers on the Steam Deck ahead of its heyday.
I think he meant well after its heyday. I think that makes more sense.
I'm not trying to call you out. I'm just looking at it. I'm sure you meant
he's a
the
time
right
traveler.
Thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was going to say, you don't know. He could be a time traveler.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, he could be.
Well, another one that, maybe could be a time traveler, who knows, is Lethco of the Afterglow podcast, who says, a nice fun co-op beat 'em up that I spent a good amount of time on and got a few laughs out of. The forest critters fleeing in terror as they soiled themselves might be cheap humor, but I still laughed at it with my friends. And that's okay, because we still do too.
Yeah. Cheap but funny humor is still funny humor. Says the person who just saw the Naked Gun movie that came out in 2025 and laughed their ass off.
I'm so glad to hear it's good.
Oh, this is a tangent. Kiva Schaffer from The Lonely Island. I love The Lonely Island, and he's a great director, and he helped write it. It's basically an homage. It continues from, but it's an homage to the original movies and TV show. It's great. Go see it.
Perfect.
Anyway,
Perfect.
enough about that. Let's talk about Randall, who says Castle Crashers is one of the staple couch co-op games of the 360 era. Truly of those games that I feel most people have played. And if they had played it, it was likely at a friend's house with pizza rolls and Mountain Dew. Not inaccurate. Played between sessions of Halo 3 and Modern Warfare 2. Also, not inaccurate. It paints a pretty stark picture of like my college days, and I don't like it because it makes me feel old.
Man, I'm getting nostalgic. I got to move on here. Next is Alt, who says, I like how goofy the game is. It reminds me of the early 2000s cartoons and era of games that were fun in a childhood nostalgia way. I also like Battle Block Theater from the Behemoth. Highly recommend checking it out as a co-op puzzle platforming game. Thank you, Alt.
All right, and I get to close things out with the one and only Omi, who says, the most notable thing about Castle Crashers is forest creatures with uncontrollable diarrhea. It's disturbing, yet hilarious.
Accurate.
I wanted to point this out, by the way, just real quick, when in the graphics, but I never got around to it, that whole like humor / personality thing, it fucking kills me every time I see it, that it's the deer that is just like jet shitting itself has the most deadpan look on its face. Oh my God.
It's so good.
That combination is just gold. Like if it was like a different facial like gesture or facial expression, it would have been totally different, but that deadpan look just sells it. Oh my God. Anyway,
it does.
I love that whole forest stage, the progression of first the owl, the deer, then the bear, like, and all of them, like, except for the deer having these shocked looks of like, oh no, I'm pooping. But the deer just stays deadpan the whole time. It's just, it's perfect. Perfect no notes.
I love it.
I think if you have 4 players, one person gets to ride on the jet shitting deer.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Great. Well, that wraps it up from our patrons. Now we get to officially close the show out by whether or not we think this game holds up today. We are going back to tradition, and as we are wont to do, myself and Shane will give our thoughts first, and then let our guest close the episode out with their thoughts. I will kick this one off. Move out of the way, Shane. I got this. And give my thoughts here. I will say, it does hold up today. I think, though, that because we did mention them, so I have to mention them here too. If you're looking for the premier modern beat 'em up, Castle Crashers, I don't think is that. I think there are better beat 'em ups that have been released more recently, whether that be River City Girls, which I think is just it's chef's kiss good. Shredder's Revenge is fantastic, but I think and Streets of Rage 4 is a fantastic beat 'em up as well. However, we're talking these games were released like more than a decade after Castle Crashers, if I'm not incorrect. So like there was a time when beat 'em ups were like really in a lull and didn't have much of high quality coming out to speak of. And this game is still high quality. I think that especially if you can do local co-op, and I loved playing online co-op, but I don't think anything's better than local co-op. And that's what if you can do it, do that. This game is going to be an absolute blast. Even playing by myself, I had a great time. So every way I played this, much as Lucas said, this is a very easy pick up and play game where even the games that I aforementioned, those beat 'em ups, they require combos, a little bit more strategy. The difficulty is a little bit higher for various reasons. This game is something that you can get a bunch of people who don't normally play video games. You can get that forgotten word, casual. You can get the casuals to come in, play this game, and they're going to have a great time. This is a party game. It also has the enough depth that your quote unquote hardcore gamers are going to appreciate the time they play with this. This is the one you bust out if you want to have a just really relaxing night of Mountain Dew, spiked Mountain Dew. Now that I'm an alcoholic, I'm just kidding, kind of. But
Christ,
just do that and get some pizza rolls and jam out and have a great night. Castle Crashers is a game to play. 100%. Shane?
Does it hold up today? Yeah, it does. I think the only like caveats that I will throw along with that blanket is kind of what I brought up earlier in the episode, is it really shines when you are playing with friends, or at least with other people. They don't have to be your friends. I mean, that probably makes it better, but playing with other people is where this game is at its peak. You can play it solo. I mean, all three of us did it, but in my opinion, it's not nearly as enjoyable. You're not going to get the full Castle Crashers experience unless you are playing with somebody else. So that would be my suggestion. You can get it on probably your smart fridge at this point. So, I mean, you can find it anywhere. It's definitely worth a play. It is one of the more solid like couch co-op games, especially nowadays where that notion in and of itself is almost becoming like archaic. Like there are few games coming out, relatively speaking, nowadays where you can sit down and play together with an actual real live person in the same meat space. So having that is kind of like a bonus in and of itself. But yeah, I think as long as you've got like at least one other person to sit down and crash some castles with, it's a good time.
All right, awesome. Matt, send us home.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you both. I think this absolutely holds up today. And I agree that the peak version of playing this game is with other people. But I think unlike a lot of other beat 'em ups, there is fun to be had by yourself. I think it's safe to say every beat 'em up ever made is better multiplayer. I can't think of a single one that isn't. That's just kind of the nature of the genre. But yeah, this absolutely holds up. It's on every modern platform: Switch, PS4, Xbox One, PC. You can get it. It's, and it works on those next levels of all three of those platforms. It ran great on the Switch too. It looked great, sounded great. It was fun. And there's online multiplayer also. Like, I love couch co-op. It's my preference. It kills me that it's kind of a dying breed. We all grew up and have lives and don't live near each other anymore. So online has to do. And the online was stable. Mostly, we had some problems on Steam a little bit when we were playing together, but honestly, even with it stuttering, we're still able to get through the game. There was one point where it completely stopped for like a few moments, but for the most part, it held through. And like, I played online on the Switch too and had zero issues, which is surprising because, Nintendo does a lot of great things, but online infrastructure is not one of them.
No,
But yeah, this absolutely holds up. And I think if you are looking, like, I'll agree with you, Chris, that it's not the best ever of the thing, but also who cares? Like, you don't always have to play the best ever thing. 7 and 8s are great too. And I've played a lot of 7 and 8 games that I've loved and remembered better than 10 out of 10 games. So, there's that
Facts.
too. But I think it absolutely holds up and worth a play. And like I said, it's available everywhere. There are so many games from this era that are not. Like I mentioned Splosion Man earlier. It's dead. It doesn't exist anywhere. Missplosion Man is, I think, on modern platformers, which was the sequel, which is also great. But like a lot of these older indie dev studios that some of them aren't making games anymore, they just don't exist anymore. Braid didn't exist on modern platforms until very recently. So I think supporting these older indie games that kind of laid the groundwork is also important because it lets folks know that people, and like we said before, this game, by the time you're hearing this episode, has brand new DLC on PC where you can create your own knights. You design the head of the character, and then the game helps you bring it to life. It's brilliant. The painter boss from the game becomes your ally and helps you create custom characters. I can't wait for it. I'm definitely going to do another playthrough just to see what that's like. So yeah, definitely gets a big hearty recommend from me, and it definitely holds up today.
Outstanding. That's 3 for 3. Saying Castle Crashers holds up. Go check it out. Go play it. It'll probably be on a Steam sale for cheap or whatever, but it's honestly worth picking up regardless. You can get, as Matt said, you can get on everything. Big thumbs up from all of us. And a big thumbs up from me to you, Matt. Thank you so much for being on the show with us once again. I said at the beginning of the show, I'm saying at the end of the show, it's always great to have you on. Your perspective is always fantastic, and it's great hearing you talk about games with us.
Thank you. I love the show. I'm an avid listener and fan. I love your shenanigans, as they say. People say that, right? And
Sure.
We're not all old and in our 40s or later.
No.
No, I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, no, thank you for having me back. It's a pleasure. Whether I get to do it once a year, twice a year, or 1,000 times a year, I will never not cherish time on this pod. So thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. But let's talk about your podcast now, or podcasts, or all the things you do on the interwebs, wherever you want people to find you. Go ahead and plug the hell out of it. Matt, take it away. Let them know.
Sure. Yeah. I it's funny. People are like, you do 2 podcasts. That's so much. I'm like, well, it used to be a lot more. So it's a lot, but not as much a lot. Yeah. So I'm the host of 2 podcasts, Fun and Games, that I do with the incredible Jeff Moonen. The main show is topic based. We talk about a different topic every episode. We interview game devs, composers. We talk about, is grinding in games too much? Do you like signposting in games? We do genre retrospectives, console retrospectives, all sorts of different stuff. And that's always a blast. And then within that same feed, we also have a sub-series called Side Quests, where a different host every episode talks about a game and why they love it. Both Chris and Shane have done episodes, and they are great, and you should go check it out. Or if you want to talk about a certain game, hit me up online. You can find me in most places as DJ_Stormageddon on Instagram, and then DJStormageddon.com on Blue Sky. That's where I'm the most active. If you want to check out all the stuff that I was just talking about, you can go to DJStormageddon.com, and you can find my Linktree. As the kids, Shane always says kids aren't really into Linktree anymore, but I'm not signing up for another platform. Linktree is what you get. And it has both my podcasts there, the Patreon for Fun and Games. You can join. There's a free tier where you can see all the articles I write. I've been writing a review every month since January, and I have yet to miss a month, and that's been pretty exciting, mostly indie games. And then you can also find my merch store. I have mugs, t-shirts, stickers, all sorts of fun stuff if you want to support a local and very indie podcaster who needs money to survive. No, I'm kidding. I do other things for money too, but we can't talk about that here.
No,
Unspeakable things.
Unspeakable things.
All right, and as far as we are concerned, you know what? We too have a link tree because we are the olds. I will not have a beacons or whatever you kids are using now. I don't know. Anyway, all the stuff is there if you want to check it out. If this happens to be your first time stopping by the show, then we hope you enjoyed your stay. And if you liked it enough and we didn't completely throw you off, then boy, do we have a lot of other stuff for you. We are now working our way towards 400 episodes released to the main feed, which is crazy. And that number just will continue to grow. So that basically functionally what that means is you will never run out of content. So you could listen to us for a very long time, and man, you would get a lot of bang for your, well, not even $1. It's free. Just you go listen. There you go. You're welcome. But if you do want to throw down some shekels, then, I don't generally advise it, but like, I'm also not going to stop you, live your life, do you. And if you want to do that, then you can find our Patreon, as well as our merch store at our link tree. The Patreon, you can throw down like $1, one greenback, and it will get you in for a whole bunch of additional content if you are insane and somehow made it through our entire backlog and didn't jump into our Discord and ask us why we haven't pulled down at least the first like 25 episodes just for like, honor, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. for the betterment of the internet. But we haven't. They're still there.
They're so good that when we upload an episode to Patreon takes another one down. That's how amazing they are.
Yes, that definitely has nothing to do with the feed limit. It's definitely
Shush, Shane. It's a quality filter.
It's Patreon's subjective assessment of our episodes. That's what it is. But at any rate, please head over to linktr.ee/retrohangover and tap and or click on the button that suits you the best. And Chris, at the risk of having this thing run even longer, is there anything else that you would like to tell the fine people at home?
Yeah, come on over to our stream Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time over on YouTube or on Twitch. We say grossly inappropriate things that apparently are on brand, like talking about pennies and how do they taste and what that equates with. That's never going to get old, much like pennies. And they won't get banned, unlike pennies. But that's what I have to say. Also, Ashton is our editor and you rock. I don't say that enough. Thank you, Ashton.
100%. All right. Well, I think with all of that now having been said, until next time,
play with your clown pussy joysticks.
Why?
Amazing.
Shane here with a quick message. The one rule Chris and I have always gone by regarding advertisements is this. It has to be something we use and can personally vouch for. If you know me, you know I love coffee. And Bones Coffee Company has been my go-to for home brewing for quite some time now. Their small batch beans come in an impressive variety of flavors like Mint Invaders from Chocolate Space, or Electric Unicorn, which I swear tastes exactly like Fruity Pebbles. And the best part? No added sugar or calories involved, just natural flavors infused right into the beans themselves. Build your own sample pack of 5 4-ounce bags to find out which flavors speak to you, or jump in head first with full 12-ounce bags. They've even got K-Cups. Step up your homebrew game with Bones Coffee by visiting bit.ly/RHPBones. That's bit.ly/RHPBONES.